Samantha Sam Cooper tightened her grip on the steering wheel as she navigated through the early morning Austin traffic. It was another overcast day, the kind that made her feel as if the weight of the clouds mirrored the heaviness in her chest. She was heading to her shift at St. Mary's Hospital, where she'd worked as a nurse for more than a decade. Sam loved her job, or at least she used to. But lately, every aspect of her work felt like an uphill battle she was keep fighting. As she pulled into the hospital parking lot, Sam glanced at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Dark circles hung under her eyes, a testament to weeks of sleepless nights. Her once bright hazel eyes seemed dull, drained of the spark that had carried her through long shifts and countless patient crises in the past. "Pull it together," she muttered to herself before stepping out of the car. Sam's struggles didn't begin overnight. Like many healthcare workers across the country, the COVID-19 pandemic had left its mark on her both professionally and personally. The endless stream of patients, the uncertainty of each new day, and the collective grief of losing people, despite their best efforts, had worn her down. Sam wasn't one to shy away from hard work, but this felt different. Her colleagues often described her as the glue of their team, always stepping in to help others, keeping spirits high during grueling shifts, and taking extra time to ensure her patients felt cared for. But lately, she felt like she was running on empty. The final blow came when her long-term boyfriend, Ethan, ended their relationship. "It's not you, Sam," he had said, his voice gentle but firm. "You've just been so distant. It feels like you're carrying the weight of the world, and I can't be the one to fix it." The breakup left Sam reeling. On some level, she knew Ethan was right. She had been distant, consumed by the emotional toll of her job, but instead of seeking support, she withdrew further. Over the months that followed, Sam's self-doubt grew. She began second-guessing her every decision at work, convinced she was letting her patients and her team down. Simple tasks that once felt second nature now seemed overwhelming. The same thoughts played on a loop in her mind. Why can't I handle this? Other people seem to be coping just fine. Maybe I'm just not as strong as I thought I was. Her once thriving social life dwindled to occasional text exchanges with her best friend, Olivia. Even when Olivia invited her out for coffee or a walk around Ladybird Lake, Sam found reasons to decline. "I'm just too tired," she'd say, though the truth was that she didn't want to burden anyone with her feelings of inadequacy. One night, after an exhausting shift, Sam sat on her couch staring blankly at the TV. She hadn't even bothered to change out of her scrubs. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a message from Olivia. "Hey Sam, I know things have been tough, but I want you to know you don't have to go through this alone. I heard about this therapist, Dr. Vincent Vale. He's supposed to be amazing with resilience and burnout. Maybe it's worth a shot?" Sam sighed and set the phone back down. Therapy wasn't something she'd ever considered. Growing up in a small Texas town, her family had always told her to tough it out. But as she looked around her empty apartment, the silence felt deafening. The next morning, Sam found herself Googling Dr. Vale's name. His website was simple but inviting, with a tagline that read, "Building resilience, one step at a time." She scrolled through the testimonials, each one describing how he had helped people rediscover their strength after life's challenges. Something about his approach resonated with her. He didn't promise instant solutions or dismiss the reality of hardships. Instead, he emphasized growth, adaptability, and learning to navigate adversity with self-compassion. With a deep breath, Sam filled out the contact form. By the time she hit submit, she felt a small flicker of relief. For the first time in months, she was doing something to address the heaviness she carried. Sam didn't fully understand it at the time, but her reluctance to seek help had been rooted in fear. Fear that admitting she needed support meant she wasn't strong enough. She had spent months convincing herself that resilience meant handling everything on her own. But the truth was, ignoring her struggles hadn't made her stronger. It had left her isolated, burnt out, and questioning her worth. As she prepared for her first session with Dr. Vale, Sam didn't expect a miracle. But she hoped, quietly, cautiously, that this could be the start of something better. In the days leading up to her appointment, Sam began to notice small moments of clarity. She found herself thinking about her patients and colleagues, the lives she had touched, and the strength it had taken to show up every day despite her struggles. Maybe resilience isn't about being unshaken, she thought. Maybe it's about getting back up, even when you feel like you can't. Sam sat nervously in the waiting room of Dr. Vincent Vale's office, her hands fidgeting with the strap of her bag. The walls were painted a soft, calming blue, and the faint scent of lavender lingered in the air. She glanced at the bookshelf in the corner, its titles centered on topics like resilience, mindfulness, and overcoming burnout. When the door opened, Dr. Vale stepped out with a warm smile. He was a tall man with a calm presence, wearing a simple navy sweater and jeans. "Samantha?" he asked, extending his hand. "Sam," she corrected with a small smile, shaking his hand. "Well, Sam, let's talk," he said, gesturing toward the office behind him. The room was cozy, with a large window letting in natural light and two comfortable chairs positioned for conversation. Sam hesitated for a moment before sitting down. "So, what brings you here today?" Dr. Vale asked after they settled in. His tone was gentle, inviting her to share without pressure. Sam hesitated. Where could she even begin? She felt like everything in her life was a mess, and summing it up in a neat explanation. But as Dr. Vale patiently, she took a deep breath and began. "I guess I just don't feel like myself anymore. I've always been the kind of person who could handle anything. Work, relationships, life. But lately, it's like I've hit a wall. The pandemic, my job, my breakup, it's all just too much." Dr. Vale nodded, his expression empathetic. "It sounds like you've been carrying a heavy load for a long time," he said. "Tell me more about what that's been like for you." As Sam opened up about the challenges she'd faced over the past year, she felt a weight begin to lift. It was the first time she had spoken openly about her struggles, and it felt surprisingly freeing to put it into words. Over the next few sessions, Dr. Vale helped Sam dig deeper into the beliefs that were fueling her self-doubt. Through guided conversations, they uncovered patterns that Sam hadn't fully recognized before. "I think I've always tied my worth to how much I can handle," Sam confessed during one session. "Growing up, my parents used to say, 'You're the strong one, Sam. You're the one who keeps everything together.' I guess I took that to heart. I feel like if I can't keep it together, then what does that say about me?" Dr. Vale leaned forward slightly, his expression thoughtful. "It sounds like you've been carrying a lot of responsibility for a long time. And when things got overwhelming, instead of seeing it as a natural response to extraordinary circumstances, you saw it as a personal failure." Sam nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I guess so. But how do I stop feeling like this? Like I'm not enough?" Dr. Vale offered a small smile. "The fact that you're here, asking that question, is a sign of resilience in itself. Resilience isn't about being unshaken. It's about finding ways to adapt and grow through the challenges, and that's what we're going to work on together." Dr. Vale introduced Sam to several tools and strategies for building resilience, but the process wasn't always smooth. One of the first exercises he suggested was keeping a resilience journal. Each day, Sam was supposed to write down one moment when she had overcome a challenge, no matter how small. "I don't know if I can do this," Sam said during a session. "Most days, I feel like I'm just going through the motions. I don't feel resilient." That's okay, Dr. Vale said reassuringly. This isn't about feeling resilient right now. It's about noticing the small ways you're already showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. Start with something simple. Maybe it's getting out of bed on a tough morning or showing kindness to a patient at work. Reluctantly, Sam agreed to try. At first, he often felt foolish to get through my shift without breaking down. But as the days went on, she began to notice more moments of strength, helped a new nurse navigate a difficult case, took a walk during my break instead of staying inside, reached out to Olivia for advice. The act of writing these moments down started to shift Sam's perspective. She realized that resilience didn't have to mean big, dramatic acts. It could be found in the quiet moments of perseverance. Another breakthrough came during a particularly tough shift at the hospital. Sam was caring for a patient in critical condition, and despite her best efforts, the outcome wasn't what she had hoped. In the past, Sam would have internalized the loss as a personal failure, replaying every decision in her mind and wondering what she could have done differently. But this time she paused and reminded herself of something Dr. Vale had said. You can't control every outcome, but you can control how you show up. After the shift, Sam wrote in her journal, I did everything I could for that patient. I was present, compassionate, and professional. That's enough. It wasn't an easy mindset to adopt, but it was a step towards self-compassion. As the weeks went on, Sam began to notice moments of insight that helped her see herself in a new light. During one session, Dr. Vale asked her to reflect on a time in her life when she had faced a challenge and come out stronger. She thought back to her nursing school days, juggling classes, clinicals, and a part-time job. It had been one of the hardest periods of her life, but she had made it through. That version of you is still here, Dr. Vale said. She's just been buried under self-doubt, but she's resilient and she's ready to rise again. It was a Friday afternoon when Sam's manager, Danielle, approached her with a clipboard in hand and an apologetic look on her face. Sam, I know this is last minute, but we've got a staffing shortage tonight, Danielle began. We need someone to cover the ER. I hate to ask, but you're one of our most experienced nurses, and I trust you to handle it. Sam's stomach dropped. The ER was always high pressure, chaotic, and emotionally draining, a setting she had avoided since her confidence had taken a hit. Just the thought of managing critical cases and making split-second decisions made her palms sweat. I don't know, Sam stammered. Maybe someone else would be better for this. Danielle frowned. I understand, Sam, but we're stretched thin, and you're one of the few people I know can step up in a situation like this. Her words hit Sam hard. Part of her wanted to say no, to retreat into the safety of her usual ward, but another part of her, a quieter but growing voice, whispered, You've done this before. You can do it again. That evening, as Sam changed into her scrubs and prepared for the shift ahead, her nerves were in overdrive. She found herself replaying past moments of doubt, wondering if she was truly ready to handle the responsibility. But instead of letting the anxiety consume her, she reached for the strategies she had learned with Dr. Vale. She closed her eyes and took a few deep breaths, grounding herself. She visualized herself moving confidently through the ER, staying calm and focused. Before stepping into the ward, she pulled out her journal and wrote a quick note to herself. You're here because you're capable. Take it one patient at a time. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up. The ER was as intense as Sam had expected, if not more so. Within the first hour, she was juggling multiple cases. A car accident victim with a broken leg, a child with severe asthma, and a patient experiencing chest pain. The alarms and beeping monitors created a cacophony that would have overwhelmed her just weeks ago. But this time, Sam approached each situation with a newfound sense of calm. She focused on one task at a time, reminding herself that she didn't need to have all the answers immediately. When she felt uncertainty creeping in, she leaned on her team, asking for input and delegating tasks when necessary. One particular moment tested her resolve. A patient with severe trauma arrived via ambulance, and the attending physician quickly rattled off instructions for stabilization. Sam had to act fast, setting up an IV line and monitoring the patient's vitals while communicating updates to the team. Her hands trembled slightly as she worked, but she pushed through. "You've done this before," she reminded herself. "You know what to do." By the time the patient was stabilized and transferred to surgery, Sam felt a wave of relief and pride. She had risen to the challenge, even in the face of uncertainty. Toward the end of the shift, Danielle stopped by the ER to check in. She found Sam reviewing charts at the nurse's station, her face a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction. "Sam, I just wanted to say thank you," Danielle said. "I know this wasn't easy, but you were incredible tonight. The team couldn't have done this without you." Sam felt a lump form in her throat. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to fully absorb the praise instead of brushing it off. "Thanks, Danielle," she said, her voice quiet but steady. It felt good to step up again. As Sam drove home in the early hours of the morning, the city still quiet under a blanket of darkness, she replayed the events of the night in her mind. It wasn't a perfect shift. There had been moments of doubt and challenges she hadn't anticipated. But she had faced each one with determination and grace, proving to herself that she was stronger than she had believed. When she arrived home, she grabbed her journal and wrote, "Tonight was hard, but I did it. I stayed calm under pressure, trusted my team, and made decisions that helped people. I'm proud of myself, not because I was perfect, but because I showed up and gave my best." That shift became a turning point for Sam. It wasn't just about the work she had done, it was about how she had handled herself. She had faced one of her biggest fears head on and emerged not only intact, but stronger. During her next session with Dr. Vale, she recounted the experience with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "I didn't think I could do it," she admitted, "but I did. And it reminded me of why I became a nurse in the first place." Dr. Vale smiled. "That's the thing about resilience, Sam. It's not about never feeling fear or doubt. It's about choosing to move forward anyway. And that's exactly what you did." Sam left the session with a renewed sense of confidence. She realized that resilience wasn't something she lacked. It was something she had been building all along, one challenge at a time. It had been a few weeks since Sam's unexpected shift in the ER, but the impact of that night lingered. She felt a new sense of clarity, a lightness that had been missing for months. That shift didn't just prove she could handle the pressure. It reminded her of the passion that had drawn her to nursing in the first place. Sam found herself approaching her days with a more grounded mindset. She no longer dreaded going to work, nor did she carry the constant fear of failure that once loomed over her. Instead, she embraced each day as an opportunity to grow. At work, her colleagues began to notice the change. Sam, who had once avoided high-pressure situations, was now stepping up to help during busy shifts, offering guidance to newer nurses, and even volunteering to lead a team meeting. "You seem different," her friend and co-worker Rachel said one afternoon. "Like you've got your spark back." Sam smiled, thinking back to everything she had learned through her sessions with Dr. Vale. "I think I just stopped expecting myself to be perfect," she said, "and that's made all the difference." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Well, whatever you're doing, it's working. It's good to have you back." The changes in Sam's life extended beyond her job. She began to reconnect with friends, accepting Olivia's long-standing invitation to meet for coffee at their favorite spot in downtown Austin. As they sipped their lattes, Olivia leaned in with a knowing smile. "Okay, spill it. What's changed?" "You're not the same Sam who canceled on me every week for months." Sam laughed, a genuine laugh that felt good in her chest. I guess I've been working on myself. Therapy helped me realize that resilience isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when things feel hard. Olivia nodded. I'm proud of you, Sam. You've been through so much, but you've come out stronger. And honestly, you inspire me. Sam felt a warmth in her chest. For the first time, she truly believed those words. She was stronger. During her final session, Sam, I used to think resilience meant never breaking, never showing weakness, she said. But now I see it differently. It's about how you recover, how you keep moving forward even when it's hard. Dr. Vale nodded, his expression thoughtful. That's exactly right, Sam. Resilience isn't about avoiding adversity. It's about finding ways to grow through it. And you've done that beautifully. Sam smiled. I'm still a work in progress, but I feel like I can handle whatever comes my way now. And that feels good. As they wrapped up the session, Dr. Vale offered one final piece of advice. Remember, resilience is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Keep celebrating the small victories. They're what build the big ones. For Dr. Vale, Sam's story was a powerful reminder of the human capacity for growth and transformation. He often shared her anonymized journey during workshops and talks, using it to inspire others who felt overwhelmed by life's challenges. Sam's story shows us that resilience isn't a trait reserved for the lucky few, he said during a webinar on overcoming burnout. It's something we all have within us. It's about learning to trust ourselves, even in the face of uncertainty, and finding strength in the small steps we take every day. He emphasized that resilience doesn't mean being unshaken. It means choosing to rise no matter how many times we fall. Sam's journey resonated deeply with others because it touched on a universal truth. Setbacks and challenges are a part of life, but they don't define us. What defines us is how we respond to them. For Sam, the moments that once felt like failures became opportunities to rediscover her strength and purpose. She learned that resilience wasn't about being invincible. It was about being adaptable, self-aware, and compassionate toward herself. In the final moments of Dr. Vale's video, he turned to the audience with a direct message. If you've ever doubted your resilience, I want you to pause and reflect on one thing. You're here. You've made it through every challenge life has thrown your way so far. That's resilience. Take a moment today to recognize the small ways you've shown strength, whether it's getting out of bed on a tough morning, reaching out to someone for support, or simply taking a deep breath when things feel overwhelming. These moments matter. They're the building blocks of resilience. He ended with an invitation. Start small, but start today. Your resilience is already within you. All you need to do is nurture it. Sam's transformation didn't just impact her, it rippled outward to those around her. At work, she became a mentor to younger nurses, sharing the lessons she had learned about perseverance and self-compassion. Her friends and family noticed her renewed sense of confidence and joy. She even started journaling again, this time not just to process her struggles, but to celebrate her victories. One evening, as she reflected on her journey, Sam wrote, resilience isn't about never feeling fear or doubt. It's about moving forward anyway, trusting that I can handle whatever comes next. And for the first time, I believe in my own strength.